522 AD, 4416 AM. The Anunnaki planet Nibiru passes back through the inner solar system after 60 years above the ecliptic, descending back into the deep, completing its 792-year orbit. Also in this year, planet Phoenix passes through the inner solar system, completing its 138-year orbit. This is the only year in all of world history in the past and in the future that these two intruder planets pass through the inner system at the same time. Several devastating earthquakes struck Olympia in Greece. The calendrics for this year are prominent, and the effect these two intruder worlds had on Earth was probably not recorded effectively. Europe and the Near East were entering a dark age with literacy at an all-time low. There is evidence, though no dates are specified, that in the Americas at this time there was a great destruction visited upon these cultures. 1. The Naked Olympics. 525 AD, 4419 AM. An earthquake is felt throughout Europe, damaging several cities. This was the 1300th year of the Greek Olympiad calendar. 1. The Medieval World. 526 AD, 4420 AM. The Western Roman Emperor Theodosius died in Rome. Italy erupts in civil war and anarchy. This civil war will endure 28 years to 554 AD. The civil unrest and collapse of the political structure empowers the Church of Rome as people seek the guidance of the priests and popes because of the inability of the secular government to provide security. The King of Israel, great orbit train of comets and debris, enters the inner solar system. On May 29th, a massive earthquake rocked the Jewel of the East, the famed city of Antioch in Syria. As the ground trembled, flames fell from the sky, and a horrible stench bubbles up from the sea, hydrogen sulfide maybe. According to John of Ephesus, this archaic cosmopolitan city caught fire and thousands were burned alive while trapped in the rubble. In the several days after the disaster, bands of robbers plundered, raped and murdered many survivors. The total death toll is estimated at 250,000 in Antioch alone. In this same year, the scholar Dionysius Exiguus created a new calendar based off of the now widely accepted Christian story, the Anno Domini, or Year of Our Lord calendar. He calculated year 1 AD to be the 754th year of Rome, thinking that was the birth of Jesus. He was a year or so off, but the mistake seems to have been deliberate or divinely inspired. This year begins the entire method of calculating dates BC or BCE and AD or CE. Prior to this year, the calendar had never been centralized, but different nations employed their own systems. This is the accepted calendar first of the entire Western world, and later the calendar adopted by the entire world. 1. March of the Titans. 2. Voyages of the Pyramid Builders. 527 AD, 4421 AM. Justinian begins to rule as emperor in Constantinople over the Eastern Empire. He would rule to 565 AD and be an infamous ruler who would marry a prostitute actress who was equally notorious. 529 AD, 4423 AM. Emperor Justinian of the Eastern Greek Empire had the Platonic Academy shut down after 900 years of service in education and dissemination of the arts and sciences. It was considered the oldest university in the world. 532 AD, 4426 AM. Emperor Justinian was hated by both political parties in Constantinople, called the Blues and the Greens. These factions, enemies, united in an effort to overthrow Justinian. Justinian was considered thoroughly wicked. He had executed his political adversaries and sent out agents all over the empire to falsely accuse the rich and wealthy of imaginary crimes, so the treasury could confiscate their money and property. Innocents were imprisoned, banished, and killed to fill his own coffers. Justinian bled the people of Constantinople and surrounding domains with excessive taxes, enslaved and sold those who could not pay their debts, and elevated in power and authority those evil men who helped him falsely accuse others to acquire their wealth. He paid agents handsomely to cover his wife's tracks as she continually abducted people off the streets. Theodora was a beautiful dancer turned prostitute, and as the wife of Justinian, she had secret dungeons constructed where she confined her personal prisoners and did to them whatever she willed. These people were never seen alive again. Justinian suspended the best laws that protected the rights, privileges, and immunities of the people, and by decree forbade the Jews to observe Passover, abolishing formally all the laws of the Hebrews. Procopius, author of the Secret History, was alive and personally believed that Justinian was the Lord of Hell himself in the form of a man. Procopius wrote that Justinian did not eat, though he had the greatest foods available. He abolished the Roman consulship. The conspiracy by the leaders of the Blues and Greens led to the Nika Rebellion in this year, 5 days of chaos and anarchy in Constantinople, ancient Byzantium. The people rioted in the streets. The military was attacked by civilians, even women dropping rocks and pots from windows and roofs. The prisons were opened, the priesthood and temples raided, and the Heruli guards in the city, who worked for Justinian, burned some churches, and the fervour of the people heightened at this sacrilege. Much of this city burned, and many people escaped across the Bosphorus to Asia Minor in the 5 days. The St. Sophia Church and Outer Palace were burned, but not completely. About 30,000 people were killed in the chaos. Justinian's troops established control, put down the insurgents, and all the conspirators met with terrible deaths. Also in this year, according to John of Ephesus, quote, "The sun became dark, and its darkness lasted for 18 months. Each day it shone for about 4 hours, and still this light was only a feeble shadow," unquote. Everyone declared that the sun would never recover its full light again, unquote. A Roman writer named Cassiodorus, senator, wrote that, quote, "The sun seems to have lost its wonted light, and appears of a bluish colour. We marvel to see no shadows of our bodies at noon," unquote. Scientific analysis of ice core samples taken from Iceland determined that there was a major build-up of volcanic ash in the atmosphere in the years 533 to 534 AD, which, considering the actual date, was 532 AD according to those alive at the time. This is amazingly precise, for the dust veil would have lasted into 533 and 534. In this year, according to Gibbon in his Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, the gigantic and moody whale named Porphyrio was found dead, washed ashore at the mouth of the river Sangaris. He was 10 cubits wide and 30 cubits in length. Porphyrio was of the habit of attacking ships at the Bosphorus Strait. 1 Procopius 28. 2 Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, Volume 4. 3 Atlantis and the Kingdom of the Neanderthals,